Welcome to a new episode of This Week in Cars. We are your hosts, Justin Hong, and
Jaren Wong.
so any new updates since last week?
Um, like in personal car news. I feel like that's the same question I asked last week.
Yeah.
We just finished working on a Mercedes GL 450. We did the serpentine belt, so that was a fun job. German engineering is always a
Yep.
great, a fun deal to tackle. Yeah, I got some sweet battle scars, so. Yeah, so I feel like every week, I think like before we did this podcast, I didn't realize how much goes on in car news,
Oh yeah, same, yeah.
right? Like you may get like a magazine and you get like a monthly update, and it's like, oh, these new cars came out or whatever. But like, if you follow on like a week by week basis, you realize that there's actually like the car industry is there's always new things happening.
Yeah, and when you actually start compiling things,
Right.
yeah, it's a lot.
Definitely. So let's get started with our first piece of news, which is the Ford Bronco Raptor. And we've been hearing about this car for quite a while now, and I think the press has finally gotten their hands on it. And I feel like it's every bit as hyped as it should be.
Yeah. So it looks like it's definitely a more off-road version of the Raptor. So you got like all the off-road goodies, like the long travel suspension. You got off-road tires, and the body kit that makes it look off-road.
Yeah. I mean, you need that body kit to fit the 37-inch off-road tires it has. Otherwise, it's not going to fit under those arches.
True.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, like, we know the Bronco is already like a bona fide like off-road vehicle, and Ford really like pushed it to the next level with that power plant, the one that's the same from the Ford Raptor or the F-150 Raptor. So it's we've also had this discussion where this car goes directly against the
I think the
Wrangler 392.
power plant is not the same as the F-150 Raptor, but rather like the Explorer ST.
Is it? I think it's
So I think the F-150 Raptor is like a 3.5 liter V6 with like 450 horsepower, I want to say. It's like the tuned up EcoBoost. And this one, it's like a 3 liter. So I think they took it from...
it's similar hardware.
Yeah, so they took it from the Explorer ST and they made some changes to probably give us some more horsepower. So a bit over 400.
Okay.
Yeah, but how many do you think we'll see of these Bronco Raptors actually go off-roading and not just go like mall crawling?
I was watching like Donut Media's video about the Bronco up to speed, and like I think so. The reason like the Bronco they came out with the Bronco again. Well, they've been in development for a while, but like where was I going with this? I think like Ford during its development, they really listened to the off-road community. Like they really took feedback and did like a lot of market research, and that means that like people who buy this, like if they're part of the market research or like like they would recognize that this has like real off-road capabilities and has the features that most off-roaders want, like the ones that have been actually off-roading with the Wrangler. Like the Raptor is like verifiably like a better off-road vehicle because like it has manufacturer support directly from the off-road community. So I think like
So you think
even though
the
we
Raptor
laugh
see
at
a
all
lot
the
more off-roading than the normal Bronco?
oh, like the Raptor compared to the Bronco.
Yeah, the normal Bronco.
Mm,
Because I like even a normal Bronco, it has some great like off-roading chops, right? Like we've seen it. I think as part of the press fleet, like Ford took all these journalists and took them to a bunch of trails and had them try the Bronco. We know it's really good at off-roading, but I mean, for the actual customer base, I think a lot of them will not go off-roading. But for the Raptor,
Specifically for the Raptor.
yeah, for the Raptor, I think it'll appeal more to the people who actually go off-roading.
Over the that's funny. Like now that you phrase it that way, I feel like the people who go off-roading recognize they probably don't need that much power off-roading, you know? I get that it has, you know, the huge tires that come standard. And it has the off-roading like chops. It's just like I feel like if you're really gonna go on like, you know, those trails that really require like a kind of vehicle like this, I think you would settle for a normal Raptor or a normal Bronco and then like do your mods yourself, like the mods you want, as opposed to like spending that. Maybe it's for someone who likes off-roading and also has like unlimited pocket, like, you know, money.
Yeah, they don't want to spend the time like customizing their own car, right?
Right, exactly. But like, you know, what's the difference between them and like real off-roaders? You know, it's like the same argument goes for what's the difference between someone who buys a tuner car and actually tunes it themselves versus the person who just, you know, like buys the top of the line and is like, okay, I'm set.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's the same.
But yeah, I mean, like, this is I feel like we repeat it every single episode. Like, I think this is going to be the last like type of its car, you know, when it comes to the last of the gas Broncos, even though it just came out.
Yeah, I mean, like EVs are taking over in every segment, and off-roading vehicles aren't excluded from that.
Right. The question is, do you think Ford will keep the nameplate for whichever EV they release for off-roading? Or are they going to call it like, I don't know,
I think they'll keep it. I mean,
Bronco Lightning?
they've like used a Mustang nameplate for their EV.
Yeah.
So there's no way they won't have a Bronco.
Hopefully it's going to be in the
EV.
same form as this one.
Yeah. Not like the Mustang.
They're going to have I mean, they already have a Bronco Sport, which
Yeah,
is
they do.
the escape-based Bronco.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can't get much worse than that.
Bronco Sport EV.
Oh man, Bronco
We'll see
Lightning
that first.
Sport. Yeah. So for our next piece of news, which is pretty wildly different, we have some news from the Italian supercar manufacturer Lamborghini, who will be releasing 4 new Lamborghinis this year. And those Lamborghinis are specifically like 2 different types of Huracans and then 2 different types of Uruses.
Yeah, so I think these are the last Lamborghinis to use internal combustion engines alone without any sort of like electrical assistance.
Right.
Yeah, so I think these 4 new cars will really appeal to the gas purists. So I think they'll sell well.
But who... You know how there's like recently there's a huge increase in value for the F430, specifically the manual transmission, right? That was like the last manual Ferrari. So for those who are really purists, you know, you want a gas engine, you also want a manual transmission. I think that is arguably the purest driving form, and those who want that for Lamborghini probably are looking for like Murcielago or like the older Lamborghini models.
Yeah, I think those are probably like the ultra purists, right?
There's different levels of purism.
Levels of purism.
Like it's an oxymoron.
Yeah, but I think like probably manual versus automatic, it's not as big of a change as from gas to EV. So I still think like these last gas-only Lamborghinis will probably appeal to quite a few purists.
So Lamborghini is currently owned by Volkswagen, the Volkswagen Auto Group, VAG. I had to say that. So we know like the Urus is based on the MQB Evo platform, which is their SUV platform shared with the Audi Q8 and the Bentley Bentayga,
And the Porsche Cayenne.
Yeah, and the Cayenne. So I guess we're gonna probably see like a electric MQB. It's probably gonna be like the MQB platform, and I feel like the first, yeah, we're probably gonna see like either between Porsche and Audi have like the first version of that platform, and then it's gonna move on to the electric Urus and all that. So it's definitely in development because the Urus electric vehicle is already planned for 2029. And I think the same goes for the Huracan because it's shared with the platform for the Audi R8. So we'll probably see like an electric R8 as well, if we can extrapolate from this news.
Yeah, but before that happens, we'll see some kind of plug-in electrified Lamborghini. I think we have a electrified Urus plan for 2024, and we'll definitely
Plug-in hybrid.
Plug-in hybrid, yeah. We'll definitely see at Huracan with some kind of hybrid system as well.
So how many miles of range do you think we'll see from a plug-in hybrid Lamborghini?
You mean electric only
Electric
range?
only range.
Insignificant.
It's gonna be a whopping 20 miles or something.
Yeah, I mean it's mostly for performance reasons, right? It's a performance hybrid.
Sure.
Yeah, it's like going back to the 918 Spider,
Yeah.
the
908,
McLaren P1,
P1 and the
the
LaFerrari.
yeah.
Yeah. So those are like hypercars. So I think Lamborghini never had that kind of like plug-in hybrid hypercar.
No, they didn't join in that time.
Why not? I feel like they really missed out on that one.
Yeah.
But
now they're catching up.
yeah, they're a few years late to the party, but at least they're doing something. Yeah, speaking of hybrids, the 2023 Toyota Sequoia is going to come with a standard hybrid powertrain.
Yeah, so I think this is something that we heard about last week. We have the official review this week. So I think the hybrid powertrain is basically the top of the line powertrain from the Tundra, which Toyota calls iForce Max. And I think they call it that to kind of...
It's like an iPhone. There's going to be the iForce Pro, iForce Pro Max.
Yeah, but they don't really want to market this as a hybrid, right? Because,
Right.
Hybrid has certain connotations, right? But iForce Max sounds like Max. Yeah.
It's the biggest one you can get.
Yeah, and you do get like the most performance. It has by far the most horsepower and torque.
Yeah, and there's going to be like several trim models as it has been. So like the SR5 Limited Platinum. We're also going to get like TRD Pro. So you're going to have like a Toyota Sequoia TRD Pro with the iForce Max.
Yeah. So I think the Toyota Sequoia has been long overdue for a refresh.
Oh yeah.
The last one we saw was, I want to say, a decade and a half ago.
And I think that's the thing though, like for the Sequoia and a lot of Toyota cars, like even though they haven't been refreshed, like you look at the 4Runner, right? They still sell like hotcakes for the most part.
Yeah, I think
they still sell super well.
Sequoia is the one that's been struggling in sales, probably because it has a lot of competition from like Chevy, Ford, and Jeep. Like 4Runners have been selling well. That's probably why they're saving the refresh 4Runner for last.
Right.
Yeah. The Sequoia's sales have been suffering, and that's why we see this refreshed version now.
I think another thing to note is that the Sequoia is going to basically take the place of the Land Cruiser.
Yeah, so I think Toyota's kind of marketing the new Sequoia as focusing on how good it is at off-road. So there's a lot of like the TRD Sport package, you get a lot of off-road features. And they've also kind of changed up the rear suspension. So the previous generation had an independent rear suspension. But for this new generation, they're using a live rear axle, which is what the Land Cruiser had. I think that works well for off-road, but it might not be the most comfortable on-road.
Right.
Yeah, and we're not sure if that's because of cost reasons, probably has a factor.
Yeah, I know for the... so they'll also have like an off-road package, and that's going to come with like a locking rear diff and a lot of the drive modes for off-roading, which is I think that the rear diff is what really a lot of the off-road enthusiasts really want. because that helps a lot with off-roading. Yeah, like I think this is interesting too. Like with the hybrid powertrain, you know, like we always talk about will a electric vehicle really last out in the mountains or whatever for the amount of time you need with that range.
Right.
But with the hybrid powertrain, you know, you get that kind of like increased range because of the battery pack. But I guess the downside to that is the weight. It's probably going to be. I feel like this car is going to come in at like 6,000 pounds or something.
Yeah.
Or more.
So
at least it tows 9,000 pounds.
The hybrid powertrain definitely adds weight, but when your car is already 6,000 pounds,
it's negligible.
Yeah, it's negligible. Yeah. But in terms of the styling, I think I like it more than the new Tundra. So it looks like they've kind of toned down the grille from the Tundra a bit.
I feel like I can't recall. Like I know the Tundra had a huge grille, but that's about like to me. Like if you didn't show me the back half of this car, I'll be like that could either be a Sequoia or a Tundra.
Yeah. So the
grille, I'd have to look at Tundra pictures to see if there's.
Oh, the grille's a lot bigger. It goes all the way to the bottom. It's just a massive black in front.
You're right.
Yeah. So
we get a strip of white or we get a strip of the body color on this car,
which
it makes
tones it down,
better.
right? It makes the grille look smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other difference is that the for this, I think it depends on the trim package you get, but like it has like the Toyota lettering on the front. I think that's probably the TRD Pro off-road version, because we've seen that on some of the 4Runners too. That has like a Toyota, just like the logo spelled out.
And now it also spells out Sequoia in the back.
Yeah.
And
I think before we move on, there's also one more thing to note is that we finally get the updated infotainment, a much needed update for like wireless CarPlay and Android Auto on the Sequoia. So that's going to be really useful for whoever is interested in buying this one. Yeah, hopefully they'll. I think they're pushing that out to every single car.
Yeah, I think across the Toyota and Lexus lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, and for our third piece of news, we've seen some more photos of the Maserati Grecale. Grecale?
I would say Grecale.
Grecale. Sounds more Italian.
Yeah.
Like Grecale. Yeah, so this is a smaller, it's like a crossover Maserati, and it's supposed to go up against the X3 and the Macan. So it would slot down below the Levante in terms of sizing. Yeah.
So I think this we've seen the review of this kind of delayed. So it was supposed to come out late last year, but now we'll see it sometime this spring. Yeah, and the photos we got are some really sporty winter driving, you know, every manufacturer is trying to sell their off-road chops. Like, since when were people this interested in going? I guess it's like when we're talking about like how Rivian is targeting the outdoorsy people, like this is, you know, just tagging along like, oh yeah, this car performs great in the snow, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's like every SUV, they want you to think you're going to take it off-roading. Every sedan, you're going to take it to the track. Yeah, but I don't know. Thing. Like, I guess I can see it. You know, it's like it's kind of hard to imagine Maserati is like, oh, I'm going to go into the Alps. Let me take the Maserati today. You know, like it feels like you would just take like I don't know, any other more rugged SUV, not the Maserati, which is supposed to be refined and, you know, Italian and all that. Yeah. No one wants to be stuck in a snowstorm dealing with Italian electronics. Yeah. But I think this will probably be the highest volume seller for Maserati. Yeah. Yeah, we know like the Macan is the best selling car for Porsche. If not the Cayenne, but you know, like same size. So the Levante I don't think has done super well. I think like Maserati's lineup like in the last few years has been like, we know they came back with the Ghibli, and that Ghibli was like it sold really well because it was like the Maserati logo, but you can get it for 60-70 grand. But like, you know, when you step in the car, you realize this is just an FCA parts bin.
So a lot of the parts are shared with like Chrysler.
Yeah, you have that Dodge like infotainment.
Right. In terms of power plant, we're gonna probably see a hybrid version of this, and then also a full EV, as usual. I think that's like the par for every single new model we're seeing now.
Yeah.
I guess another interesting fact is that it's going to be built in the same factory as the Stelvio, which is Alfa Romeo's SUV, because they're all under the FCA brand right now.
So a lot of parts sharing there too.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be sharing platforms. They're going to be, like sharing. I think at least like Volkswagen Auto Group has differentiates the interiors a little better, but when it comes to like FCA, I think, or there's Stellantis. They're not even called FCA anymore.
Yeah,
but
Stellantis.
Stellantis, I think, shares the most parts like in the interior, that to a point where you can like you can recognize, oh, this stock is from some other car, So hopefully they do a better job at that, I think. But whatever it helps them to keep the cost down and move more units. Their bean counters will decide.
So our next news is about Tesla. So Tesla said that they won't bring many of their new models to market this year. So we won't see the Cybertruck, the Roadster, or the Tesla Semi.
Right.
Or I think the $25,000 Tesla.
I think the $25,000 Tesla at this point is just axed. I don't know if we'll ever see that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think inflation will kill it. Honestly. Yeah, but Tesla also says they're not working on that $25,000.
Maybe you can calculate it like 25,000 times 1.08, 1.07, 1.08 to adjust for inflation and see how much that is. I think that's like 26.7. So we can probably see a 26.7 Tesla at some point.
Yeah, but they're not working on it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we did see a Cybertruck. I think the bigger one was that we saw a concept of the Cybertruck this week. And weirdly enough, like I think the photo was with Joe Rogan and what's his face? Jordan B. Peterson? Yeah! This photo is Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, and the Cybertruck with Elon Musk. I mean, that's kind of cool, but it's like kind of weird, It's like...
That makes the Cybertruck look really small.
So, I think that was the biggest comment when everyone saw the Cybertruck like this week. And I'm not quite sure. I have to see who said it, but rumors are that it is 5% smaller than the concept that was unveiled. But I think it's still. I think the more important part and the more impressive part is that they kept the shape, like the majority of the shape. When the Cybertruck was unveiled as a concept, people were saying, or I think it was like the EU was saying that it would be unlikely for them to keep the front of the Cybertruck because like it's fairly flat and like sharp. So if it hits a pedestrian, they're gonna get like decapitated or something, But they just increased the bumper a little bit, and it's I think it's mainly retained the same design, which is like a huge point for the Cybertruck.
Yeah, but this is still a concept, so.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the delays to the Semi is also something that is pretty unfortunate. I guess I could say I was quite looking forward to it because semis are like this might offend truckers, but they're not necessarily clean cars, right? Clean trucks. It's America significantly depends on semi or trucking transportation heavily. But yeah, I think they're a major polluter in terms of vehicles. So yeah, it's pretty sad. We know that there's going to be a lot of other electric semi-truck competitors that's like in the market. Like I can't remember who's the. There was one that was eventually they found out it was just defrauding investors or something.
I think it was called Nikola.
Yeah,
like Tesla's first name. And even for the Cybertruck, like we'll see a lot more competitors come out. So we have like the F-150 Lightning, the Rivian,
Mhm.
and also the Silverado EV. So I think all of those will probably come out before the Cybertruck does.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you, we claim them to be competitors because they're both trucks. But I think something interesting was that when the Cybertruck was revealed, like someone pointed out that like the potential buyers for these cars are actually wildly different too. For the Cybertruck, it's not a work vehicle, you know. It's like a lifestyle vehicle. It's the same as a Rivian. I think there's more. The Rivian and the Cybertruck are bigger competitors to each other than like a Ford F-150 electric vehicle than a Cybertruck. Because no one's gonna take a Cybertruck to work. They're gonna like imagine like driving that to a construction site. Like you get laughed out of the site. You know, they'll be like,
Yeah, but I don't think many F-150 Lightning buyers are gonna work in their truck either.
I don't know. Well, probably not.
Yeah.
But eventually we're gonna see electric work trucks, and that's an inevitability. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've heard that Tesla will instead focus on their self-driving this year instead of like releasing new models. So I think they've said that they'll release full self-driving later this year.
Here's my question though. Like, full self-driving, you know, requires engineers, specifically like, you know, computer vision, AI engineers. But what's the overlap between them and like product designers for new models? You know, I get it's like one thing is to focus your full efforts, but like, what happened to the original product designers? Did you just axe all of them? Were they on contract basis?
I think Tesla's really good at working on one thing at a time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think they're good at multitasking and, you know.
But the thing is, it's just like, it requires a very high level of specialization to be working on full self-driving.
Yeah.
And what happened to all the employees that were working on, you know, normal like hardware stuff, for instance, like designing the car? Like, I'm just curious. I have no clue.
I don't know.
Maybe they really just got axed, or they were on contracts or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Anyways, for our final piece of news, we have the Gordon Murray T33 T.33 T33 supercar. So this is a smaller version of the original T50 that we saw like last year. And it's going to come with a naturally aspirated 607 horsepower V12 with the available manual transmission, which is a big deal.
Yeah, so this is like the cheaper version, right?
Yeah,
it's 1.85 million.
Only 1.85.
Yeah.
This is for the Bitcoin billionaire who recently got hit by the by the crypto drop.
Can't
and
afford
like,
the T50 now.
Yeah,
I gotta
guess
settle for the T33.
I mean, Bitcoin was like $50,000 at one point. Now it's what, 20, 25? Let's see. Oh, it's 38. So, you know, when your Bitcoin was 50K earlier, and now it's $33, $33,000.
Perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the reason the original one got so much buzz was because, you know, it was designed by Gordon Murray, who is the original designer for the McLaren F1, and this is like a spiritual successor. Like after the F1, McLaren, you know, they have the 650, 720, the Senna, which was really cool, but it wasn't like, I don't think it was as groundbreaking as the F1. To a certain extent, because the F1 holds so many like speed records and like all of that.
Yeah.
I think the Senna is faster around the track, but it never really got to that kind of level the F1 did.
Yeah, I think the P1 originally was supposed to be like the successor.
Oh, right.
But it was just like, it's a hybrid and it's really fast, but it just didn't feel like the F1, you know, like the F1 you have the like the central seating position. Yeah, a lot of really special things going on. Yeah,
so the power plant's going to be supplied by Cosworth, which is you know, a legendary tuning company. Worked with Ford on the original rally cars. So, you know, in terms of power, you know, a 4.0 liter V12 that revs up to 11,000 RPM. It's gonna be a screamer.
Oh yeah. And we'll also have like two different choices of transmission. We have the manual and the automated manual gearbox. But I think so far we've seen really good take rate for the manual. Like almost everyone's been ordering the manual instead of the paddle shift.
All like however many they sold. I mean, how many people really bought the T50? I'm curious. And how many can they really produce? You know,
Probably in the hundreds at most.
right?
Yeah. But I think the T33 is limited to 100. Yeah.
Yeah. As for like performance, you know, like 0 to 60 and stuff. Gordon Murray himself, he said like he doesn't want to release it because he doesn't care.
And neither should you.
To be fair, like yes, that is one way to look at it. But I don't know, like I get maybe it's not going to be as astounding as some of the cars that show up, but this car we already know it's like it's not supposed to be a spec sheet car, you know.
Yeah.
If it was a spec sheet car, it'd be electric, honestly.
Yeah, and it's not like all-wheel drive. It has a manual. It won't have the best 0 to 60.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I respect Gordon Murray for that. That was a cool move. That was like a big dick energy. He just flops his dick down. He's like, yeah, no, like, you know, if you want to find out, buy one yourself. No. So I think that wraps up our news for this week. So we could move on to our Grinds My Gear section. And for this week's Grinds My Gear, I don't know how I came across this, but I think it's pretty widely known that the Sultan of Brunei, this guy has a enormous car collection, right? And he encountered some financial troubles a few years back, and now most of his cars are essentially just sitting to rot. And we've talked about like really expensive or really highly sought after vehicles like the Enzo and the Carrera GT, and most of them are, you know, like they're kept in showroom condition, and that's already very sad because these cars aren't driven. But it's even worse when these cars are not driven and also left to rot. You know, that's like insult to injury, and I think that really grinds my gears.
It's kind of like those abandoned cars in Dubai, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like except in this case, the abandoned cars are all owned by one dude, and this one dude doesn't have enough money to keep them in a good condition. You know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think why did I come up with Sultan of Brunei? Oh, okay. So there was a photo of actually the backstory is too long, but like someone was talking about F40s being filled with mold, and I think the Sultan of Brunei himself, he owns like hundreds of Ferraris, literally hundreds. One person, one human with 100-something Ferraris, you know? Like, why did Ferrari let him get so many Ferraris?
He's a loyal buyer, right?
Yeah. I think he has... Oh man, if I find out the exact number, I think I'm just gonna be really upset. He has 1,300 Ferraris.
1,300?
Oh, no. That's wrong. He has more than 7 F40s single-handedly, and out of 1,300 F40s, he has 7 of them, at least 7 of them. So, you know, I mean, maybe we should like, you know, start a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe to help out this guy. Maybe you can like share his cars or whatever, you know. Like what happens when he dies? Like is the Kingdom of Brunei just gonna auction these cars off? Actually, that'd be a really cool thing. That'd be the best case scenario for
that
these
would
cars.
be, yeah.
So I don't know. Is it bad to wish death upon him?
Probably, yeah.
we're like building up to it. Like, what happens if he dies? Oh, the cars are gonna go to everyone. Well, I don't want to say I hope you die, but Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. Anything, any news you've heard of recently? Anything coming down the pipeline?
Don't think there's anything this week.
Yeah, probably nothing for next week. But I've been eyeing the Corolla GR.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that's gonna have the Yaris power plant, and it's gonna be it's like the GR Yaris for the US because apparently they think the Yaris isn't gonna sell well here. So we've been seeing like teasers on Instagram, but I think it's coming soon. Hopefully,
Like next week soon.
probably. I don't know. I really don't know. Like this is like we see teasers and they're teasing us, but as far as when, like it's just something I'm excited for that I've been thinking about this week. But I think that's pretty much it. Don't forget to check us out on our Instagram TWIC podcast and on our YouTube This Week in Cars, as well as on our website thisweekincars.com. And thanks for listening.